in this project, we are going to be working on an e-commerce company, right? We'll be cleaning an e-commerce company data set. Now, this is the data set we are going to be using, okay? So first, let's just copy this. So the next thing we have to do is we have to import our necessary libraries. So importing necessary libraries. Okay, so we turn this to Markdown and we run this. So we import pandas as PD, import NumPy as NP, import matplotlib, pyplot as plt, import cbon as sns. Then let's import warnings. Import warnings. Then warnings dot filter warnings. Ignore. Then let's import Missingno as msno. Now let's run this. So let's wait for it to run. Okay. So the next thing we have to do is let's import dataset. Import dataset. So we just say df is equals to pd.read underscore csv, and let's paste this there, and let's do df.head. Now let's run this. Okay, so now this is the data set we are going to be working with. So as you see, we have the row ID, other date, ship mode, customer ID. Then we have the customer name, segment, country, city, postal code, region, product ID, category, subcategory, and product name, right? Then we also have sales. Okay, now let's go into our data investigation. Data investigation. Right, let's do Markdown and let's run this. So the first thing I want us to check is let's check for info on data sets. Now we do df.info. Okay, now I want us to properly analyze these data sets. Now, when you look here, you see that it has 9,800 rows, right, and 18 columns. Okay. Now, when you look at this, you see that these are the various columns we actually have in this data set. All right. Now, when you also look at it, you will find out that we have some columns with missing value, right? We have some columns, either one column with missing values, but we are going to still reconfirm that. All right. Now, when you also look here, you see that we have different data types, okay, like row ID, integer, other ID objects, and the rest of them. Okay. So we also have other dates, which is objects, okay, which if you have been following this tutorial, you will know that we say that we have to, this is incorrect. So we have to confirm that there are some data types that need to be changed to their appropriate data types, right? But let's go ahead. So the next thing I want us to do is let's check for duplicate values, check for duplicate. So we say df dot duplicated. Now let's go ahead and run this. Okay, let's say dot sum. sum. So it simply means that we have no duplicate values, right? So we have no duplicate values. Okay. Now the next thing we actually have to do is let's check for missing values. Missing values. df dot is small sum. Now, as you can see, we have postal code with 11 missing values. Now, let's go ahead and visualize that using Missingno. Visualize missing values. So we say msno dot bar. So that should be df. Okay, why we wait for that? Now, this actually tells us the pattern of missingness. Okay, it tells us the pattern of missingness. So as you can see, the only one with missing value here is the postal code. Just the same way we confirm using is small. Now we have to go into our data cleaning. So let's turn this to markdown and run this, right? Then the next thing we have to do is, the first thing we have to do is let's handle our missing value. Handling missing value. So the only column we have a missing value is in postal code, right? So what we'll do is we are going to fill it with unknown. So to do that, we say df postal code, right, is equals to df postal code. Then we say dot final. Okay. Then we'll fill it with unknown. Right? Then let's go ahead and run this. So once we run this, we can go ahead and check. We check, right? And to recheck, we can simply do df.itsno.com. Now let's go ahead and run this. Okay. So as you can see, we have actually handled our missing values in our postal code. Okay. Now, the next thing I want us to do is I want us to go ahead and fix our data types. All right. But to do that, let's first of all go ahead and do df.head. Let's do df.head, right? So now let's go ahead and analyze this. Okay, let's go ahead and analyze this. So now when you look at this, you will find out that there are some columns we need to change to their appropriate data type. Like we have ship date that we need to change to date time, and we also have another date column, other dates that we also need to turn to date time. Now this poster ID is giving us an object, so we are going to be leaving it that way. Why? Remember that we had missing values in poster code, and because of those we filled the missing values as unknown. If we want to actually change postal code to an integer, it's not. We are going to have issues with that, right? So we are just going to leave postal code as this, as we are not actually using it for any analysis. Now let's convert date columns to date time. Now to do that, we say df other date is equal to pd to date pd to date time. Okay. Then df other dates. Okay. Now the next thing we have to do is we do the same thing for ship date. Now we say ship date equals to td dot to underscore date time. Then we'll say df. Then we'll say dates. Say ship dates. Ship date. Now let's go ahead and run this. Here we have an error there. We have this formatting error here. So it doesn't match this. Okay. So we just have to use this formatting here. Now what we have to do is we simply say, all right, then we do the same for this. Okay, so let's go ahead and run that again. Now let's go ahead and confirm it. Confirm it, we do df dot info. Let's go ahead and run. So as you can see, we have successfully converted them to date time. So the next thing I want us to do is let's check for and handle outliers. So handling outliers, because we have a self column. Now let's go ahead and check for outliers. Outliers with a box plot. Now to do that, we say SNS dot box plot, right? Then x should be equal to df and cells, right? So then the next thing is we go ahead and put a title. We say plt dot title. So let's just call the self distribution with outliers. Self distribution with outliers. Okay. Now let's add should we add sticks? Okay, let's just leave it simple. Let's go ahead and say pst just show. Alright, so let's run this. Now as you can see that the cells column is having outliers. So we have outliers there. So what we need to do is we go ahead and so the next thing we have to do is let's go ahead and dictate outliers using our IQR. So let's dictate outliers using IQR. So we'll just use the same code we have been using, right? So we just set the upper and the lower boundaries, and let's go ahead and run this. Now we have a total of 1,145 outliers, right? Now the next thing we have to do is let's go ahead and handle our outlier. Okay, so to handle, let's say handling outliers, handling outliers. Now to do that, we handle so handling outliers. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay. Now we have successfully handled our outliers, right? Now I will also want us to go ahead and cap it. Okay. So we have successfully handled our outliers. So let's go ahead and we visualize this. Okay. So let's call this after handling outliers. So let's go ahead and run this. Okay. So as you can see, we have successfully handled our outliers.